Namaste, my friend. I'm happy to see the progress you are making. Eastern wisdom is so simple, so easy, that it can be applied within a fraction of a second. But why it does not happen? Because of the impurity of the mind. What is that impurity of the mind? The way the mind claims and perceives the thing is full of delusion, is full of ignorance. Because of that impurity and ignorance, we get agitated, we get into anxiety, we have reaction. If someone says you are a woman, do you have any problem? At the relative level, this is the truth about your gender. So you have no problem. It is so simple. And you have started not only understanding but also realizing it. That is a good thing too. So we can progress much faster in this journey of the self-discovery. Today we'll understand about Shanti Mantra. Second topic will be that I'll just briefly touch upon that don't never make your mind a master. It is the worst master because of ignorance and impurity. And it is the faithful servant. So we have to make our mind a faithful servant, not the master. Who makes it? Intellect. What is intellect? Is the knowledge and understanding. I've been giving you all these examples that you are driving your car. Your mind perceives, it sees that the highway is running behind you. Trees are running. But if you get carried away by that claim of the mind that the highway is running behind you, you cannot drive the car. Can you? Now, with this example, the mind claims this guy is responsible for my stress, that situation, this event, nobody is taking care of me. It is filled with those expectations. And that makes the mind master, not only the master, but the worst master. I was watching Animal Planet, I was sitting. So the three aged lion attack one young lion. Why? Impulsive nature. So the three lions had a delusion that they can defeat this young one. And the young one defeated all the three. Third topic we will touch upon liberate model. I will remind you of the liberate model. And the fourth step I will remind you of the two titles of the text that we are studying. You know what happens that this text gives you a clear picture of the delusion that we carry forward every day, every hour, every week, every month. That is why it is taking time. and then we will pick up the first verse today. So in the first verse, or you can say the first principle, he touches upon the first principle. Based on that, we will discover the delusion and the ignorance. We will remove it. How you remove it? You have removed the delusion that the highway is not running. Clear? But every time you drive, still you see that. Every time you see in a desert, there is a water in the mirage. But as you approach near to it, the water is not there. Water is absent. Same way, we claim we are worthy of suffering. Fact is that we are not worthy of suffering. For a few weeks only, every day when you wake up in the morning, prepare the mind to be a faithful servant. How? Just do the Shanti mantra. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. May there be peace for all. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. May there be completeness or fulfillment for all. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. May there be auspiciousness for all. And Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let there be peace, peace, and peace. So it is the moment you wake up in the morning, check every day. Does your mind reminds you that you have to do it? You sit on the bed, eyes are closed, and even in English you can repeat, may there be happiness for all. Why? And then you are thinking why in your mind. May there be happiness for all, happiness to my near and dear ones, happiness to all the strangers, happiness to the nation, happiness to the world, and happiness within. Why we say that? The happiness is our essential nature. When the mind is a faithful servant, when it is not attached, when it does not have any expectations, happiness is always there. Why happiness is always there? Because mind reflects our real self of the nature of happiness. It may appear to you a challenging principle. Why? Because the mind does not listen to us. So when the mind is 100% available to you, it can happen. But on the other hand, if you are doing the regular practice, one day the mind will understand it, assimilate the knowledge. So it's not a ritual. It's a fundamental concept. A repeat practice, and every time, every morning you repeat it and you contemplate and reflect. You know what is going to happen? One day, your mind will say, no, I'm always in happiness. There is no one in the world that can cause me any stress or suffering. Now what is happening? That every day we had a moment of anxiety and reaction or jealousy or hatred or expectations. They will dissolve completely. Same thing with the Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham. Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. Peace is within us. It is our essential nature. So when we say, let there be peace for all, so we are preparing the mind not only to recognize the peace within us, but the peace also within everyone. For example, your son, whom do you, well, they maybe they may not be talking, they may not be telling you their challenges or their joy. But my mind is worried that why they are not telling me. They should come to me, and so I have an expectations. So the mind that has an expectation is trying to be the master of your life, and that will cause a problem. Otherwise, you say, let my all the kids should be in peace, I'm also in peace. Thank God they do not have any expectations from me, and I do not have any expectations. But if the need arises, I'm ready to move forward. Finished. That mind is the faithful servant. Eastern wisdom is unique in its perspective. The way it asks us to perceive the world, the way it demands that I should move in my relationship with the clarity, not with the delusion. And then the life changes. Sarvesham, Sarvesham, Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham, Purnam. May there be completeness, fulfillment, be there for all. Whether you say completeness or fulfillment. So our masters are asking that I should look inside. A sense of fulfillment is there. Then what is outside? Outside is desire fulfillment. Desire cannot be fulfilled. As such, there is no desire fulfillment. You have $100,000, very good. So now you want two. Now you want million. Now you want 10 million and 100 million. Yes, it is okay that you can deposit in your bank, but then you want a security of that. I have one student from New Jersey, so she says that I will never transfer the money online. I said, what happened? No, there are many hackers. She has a lot of money. So then what she does, she writes a check and covers it in a couple of papers, and she takes a big envelope, and then she sends the check to me. And then she reminds me, don't give this check to anyone. You have to deposit by yourself. Desire fulfillment. I'm talking about it. And the last line of the mantra is Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Let there be auspiciousness for all. So you just think for a while that your mind, even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the practice, your mind is not expecting anything, but it is ready to give mentally and emotionally. Happiness for all, peace for all, completeness for all, auspiciousness for all. And that repetition every day, it's not a ritual. Consciously you are doing it. Morning and before going to the sleep, And I have already given you, I sent you the practice, the last one practice. So what is going to happen? Your mind starts recognizing that when the mind is running in the world outside for desire fulfillment, that rebounds and causes anxiety, reaction, stress, and suffering. And the same mind, you change the direction, you're looking inside and you're searching inside. The moment you change the direction, you change the state of the mind. That is why I always say that you listen and learn. Don't go for other podcasts. You have time. When your mind has become your faithful servant, then listen to anything. I want you to reach to that state. You listen to anything, you watch anything. You will still remain in peace and happiness. I promise you. So the second topic that I want to make you understand, that mind is the worst master and it's a faithful servant. It becomes the faithful servant by knowledge. Knowledge comes from the intellect, from the understanding in the intellect. But understanding alone is not sufficient. Then after understanding, I have to assimilate, digest that knowledge. You can eat the organic food of your liking in a balanced quantity, and you are happy that you are eating the highly nutritious balanced diet. But if the food, your digestive system is not able to digest the food, where is the use of that organic food? Are you understanding? The intellect has an understanding, but unless that knowledge is digested, assimilated. So what do you mean by digestion and assimilation of this knowledge? It hits the mind. It makes you aware. Mind, you are doing wrong. Follow this path. It makes you aware. You have an expectation that you don't realize. It has resulted into reaction and anger, and suddenly you recognize. That very recognition is assimilation and digestion of the knowledge. And then your anxiety is gone because you have recognized it is because of the expectations. So your mind says, no more expectations. You're free. I'm just giving one example. And if that pattern, if that state of the mind continues throughout the day, in every relationship, in every situation, in every event, in every celebration, what will happen? You wake up in the morning, you did the practice, you are perfectly in a calmer, peaceful, joyful state, and that continues until you retire to the bed, and the next day again. That is why you told me that last week was very good. I love it. You have started recognizing that the mind is becoming a faithful servant, not the master. Not the master. The third topic, just to remind you, is the liberate model. So I have translated one verse and converted into a liberate model. Every teaching is there in the text. I don't know anything. So that liberate model, briefly, you have to keep in your mind. It says by listening and learning and contemplation and reflection on the principles regularly, consciously, repeatedly, drops your attachment. And when it drops your attachment, because the very attachment makes the mind worse master. So now the attachment is not there, and because the second level of this verse, which says, once the attachment dissolves, the delusion melts away. There is no more delusion. And when the delusion is not there, then your mind is already calm, relaxed, because it is aware of the peace and the calmness inside you. And if you continue, the realization takes place. Satasangatve nisasangatvam, nisasangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischaltatvam, nischaltatve jivanamukti. What I explained, listening, learning, contemplation, reflection in the beginning, plus you can add the practice, it results into dropping the attachment. In the moment you drop your attachment, that is what you did last week. And when you drop the attachment, also the delusion also dissolves, and which results into the calmness and steadiness, inner poise of the mind. And that is why you told me that last week I was very happy. So what I did, that this verse I converted into a liberate model to facilitate an easy understanding. L, live in the real self. What does it mean? Remember, recognize, repeat in your mind that I am the real self. You will not be able to remember if you do not repeat daily. Let the time come. After all, when we started driving, it has taken a couple of days and hours. And now we can easily drive. So when I recognize I am the real self in the midst of reaction and the anxiety, the mind has started changing the direction. The moment the mind changes the direction a bit, the I comes. Let us investigate. What we investigate? We investigate where is the false self? What happened? Investigate the false self. Sometimes I say this false I is unmask what you're doing. You are unmasking the imposter. Imposter is the false I. So when you start thinking. Investigating means you have started thinking. And when you start thinking, half of the battle is won. Thinking means contemplating. So the more and more you do it, you break free from the attachment. That is what I discussed. And that is B. And then E. So once then you recognize, you can easily say, okay, this is mirage water. The water does not exist. The same way you will recognize, you will experience, oh, mind, you are causing me the anxiety, but it does not exist. Causing me the reaction, but it does not exist. Because you have found the reason of it. And that helps you to eradicate or eliminate the very delusion. I told you, delusion, highways running, mirage water. So the moment mentally, by knowledge, you have removed the delusion. Do you have any problem of the highways? Or your mind says that, when I drive on the highways or when I drive in the street and still, what should I do? The street will start running behind me. Have you said this thing forever, for any time? Same way. Same way. Your mind will become a faithful servant because of the knowledge and experience. It will say anxiety, no way. Reaction, no way. Why? You have recognized without any expectations, without attachment, you cannot get into anxiety reaction. So the R comes. Oh, there is a relaxation, there is a poise, there is a calmness. When it comes instantly, you live into that awareness. So when the relaxation and the poise and the calmness comes, then your mind says, from where the calmness comes? I used to be calm when someone appreciates me, when I used to be calm when I eat the food of my liking. I used to be calm when my son appreciates me. But now no one is there, and you experience that state of the calmness. First time you recognize, you think, oh, it's coming from within me. That is why I say the Eastern wisdom is so easy. And if you are able to maintain that state of the calmness because your mind has become the faithful servant, there is a continuity in relationship, in different event that you participate in living your life. You awaken to the true nature, or you come up very near. You come very near. You approach that. A means you approach that real nature. Now you have a clarity, you have a knowledge, you have an awareness. What is that? What the awareness do? The moment your mind goes back into the past and creates a sense of reaction, and you transcend it. The way we transcend, we don't damn care the highway is running behind me. That is the meaning. You transcend. Okay. I know what it is. The knowledge is there inside. And once you learn, your mind learns the ways to transcend this delusion or attachment, or you can say that transcend the limitations. You embody the freedom. You embody the freedom. What is that freedom? Freedom is awakening. So in this entire text, we will follow this liberate model. I believe you remember. Sometimes we are not able to understand these principles, but this I made simplify these principles. The next topic is understanding the two names of the text. I have repeated a couple of times, and today also is the time to repeat it. First name is Bhaj Govindam. Literally, if you literally translate, the meaning is different. So here I have translated, I recognize. How can I recognize if I'm conscious and aware? I recognize and realize my true nature, the essence of it. That is the first meaning. But when I recognize and realize my real nature, I am filled with unconditional love. Whereas unconditional, it has no condition. Every attachment and delusion has a condition. You are my son, why don't you call me? Do you see the condition? Unconditional love. Why it is unconditional love? It is coming from within you. It is always present. It has no limitations. The second title of the text is Hammer the Delusion. Hammer the delusion. We fix the nail by the hammer into the wall, but it has no physical element. I have to think of it. I have to think, contemplate, and reflect in line with these principles which you are learning. Why? Because it will hammer the delusion present in the mind, the ignorance present in the mind, impurity is present in the mind. Two titles of the text. Why I am emphasizing that you remember and recognize unconditional love, peace, and happiness are within me. That is my nature. And I can only recognize and realize that real nature when I hammer the delusion from the mind. Means now, instead the mind is the worst master, it has become a faithful servant because it has assimilated and digested the knowledge through the liberate principle and the regular contemplation, reflection plus the practice. I believe I make it very clear to you. If it is not clear, you have to listen to it again. Simple. You see, before I take up the verse, just think, imagine. Imagine a dark room filled with various objects. You have been stumbling around in the room for years, bumping into the things, mistaking shadows for substance, and believing and believing that the temporary sensations of touch are the ultimate reality because the room is dark and you stumble upon the thing. The room represents your mind, clouded by delusion, clouded by darkness. You don't know what are the objects lying and you stumble upon. So that room represents your mind, clouded by delusion. One day you find a light switch. As you flip it on, the entire room is instantly illuminated. The shadows disappear, and you see clearly for the first time. You realize that many of the things you thought, you imagined, were important. Merely they are merely delusion. And the true nature of the room, what is the true nature of the room? Is spacious, peaceful, complete. That peace, that completeness is already there. But because of the delusion, I realized it is not. Did you understand this metaphor? Same way, this text helps me to recognize and realize that I'm the real self. I'm not a deluded guy, I'm not a stressed guy, I'm not a reactive. Take another example, a vast, deep ocean. The surface of this ocean is constantly in motion. Surface of the mind is constantly in motion. How come you have a lot of the thoughts, feeling, emotions, etc., etc., etc.? And these thoughts are crashing, falling, rising all the time. So as I saw waves rises and fall, same way our thoughts, feeling and emotions are constantly rising and falling. You pick up one, you get worried, you pick up the second and you feel happiness. The waves represents my thoughts, feeling and emotions and experiences in the world. They are ever changing. Sometimes it is calm, other time it is turbulent, third time it is agitated. Clear? Now imagine that you are diving very deep beneath the surface. You are not on the surface of the mind, which is acting like the worst master. You dive very deep inside. As you descend, as you deep inside, the motion of these waves, waves means thought, feeling, and emotions. Your experiences become less and less noticeable. Finally, you reach to the depth. When you reach to the depth of an ocean, you find there is a stillness, there is a calmness, there is a peace. Exactly the same thing we are doing. We are diving our mind deeper and deeper and deeper. How? By listening and learning, by contemplation and reflection, by practice and applying these principles in our daily life. Now we come to the first verse. First principle lays the foundation. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam bhaj moodhamate samprapte sannahite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukranna karne bhaj govind. Basically, it is a poetry. So, so let us see what the verse means. Let us divide this verse into four parts. The first part says, Bhaj Govindam, recognize and realize the real self. We never even think of it. So the Master is making us aware what you think you are. What do you think you are? I have a lot of stress, I have reaction, I have anxiety, I have anger, I'm crazy, I get irritated. You are none of them. Master says recognize and realize that you are totally different. You are real self. Real self of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. There is another meaning. I want to make you clear. If you happen to meet another master, they say that the literal translation is worship. Worship Govinda. Just think that Govinda is the real self. Whom to pray and whom to worship? One guy asked me, whom to worship and whom to pray? So I said, pray, worship, be devoted to that who is all pervading, not affected by the time, not changing, beyond the name and the form. We are not talking about religion. What I said, should I repeat it? Think of it. That is the journey of the Eastern wisdom. A real self is all pervading. Real self is not affected by the time. Real self is not changing. It is beyond the name and the form. We're not talking of the religion. So he asked me further that I thought that you will be talking of the religion. I said, forget about it. I'm asking you to pray and worship. Your question that whom to pray, whom to worship. So you might have thought that I will name some god. No. So the essence, the meaning of this worship is nothing but recognize and realize that. What is that? That is the real self. Where it is located, it is already present within me and within you. That is the meaning of the first line, first part of the verse. So, what to do? Just remember. Do you remember your house? Do you remember your gender? I'm the real self. When? Anytime, anywhere. We'll understand in detail. The second line it says, now second line is a blow to our mind. So the master is saying, I'm not saying. First line he says, recognize and realize the real self, or pray and worship. I have already made it clear. And then he says, Moodhamate, O foolish one. He is addressing to the people that, oh foolish. So whether you start in the beginning, oh foolish, recognize and realize the real self. Because I don't recognize and realize the real self, hence I am a fool. Why I'm a fool? Because I'm constantly blaming and complaining and reacting and getting agitated every day, every hour, every week, every month. And if I'm living for 60 years, I have some issues almost every day. Is it not? Yes. If I say yes, then why the hell I'm living? When every day I have some form of reaction, anxiety, hesitation, and still I'm living, I'm pulling on. Do you understand the one meaning of foolishness? We will go into deeper. So the master attacks. So he says, recognize and realize the real self. So what is foolishness? My impulsive nature, my habitual nature. Mind is the worst. Mind has become the master. That is why it is causing all these problems. Simple way. So what it means, apply in life. What do you mean by application in life? From today, you become aware at the moment you have stress, reaction, suffering, lot of expectations. I'm simply saying you recognize, you remember, you are aware. At that particular moment, you simply say, I'm the real self, I don't know this. I'm saying you mentally. You have to say it mentally. Say it and let me know what happens. So, what happened? Before the foolishness should take over you or take hold of you, the mind becomes the master. You have broken that chain. But let us go to the meaning. The master's second line, so he addresses, recognize and realize the real self, the first line. Second line, he say, oh foolish one. Third line. Third line is little, very, not very complex, but we need to understand. But let me literally translate first and then I will explain to you by example. So the third line says, Samprapte sannahite kale. That means when the appointed time of the death comes near. That is the meaning of the third line. What it means. Pay attention. That master is pointing us how long we will continue to live in ignorance, in impurity of the mind, in hesitation and reaction. Today I reacted to one person, tomorrow a second person, third event becomes stressful, fourth is my sleep is disturbed. Every day something or the other happens. So the master is asking us, reminding us, do you think that you will live forever in these different states of the mind? Or after all, sometime the death comes? Yes, death is inevitable. So before the death comes, is it not your duty to bring an end to the suffering? Think. I'm not saying that, just think, contemplate and reflect. We are excited buying a house and a car and a lot of things. We're excited to have a drink. We are not excited to treat this path of the self-discovery. For what? To bring an end to the suffering once and for all, for which I am not excited. I have taken for granted that this is going to happen. So the Master is warning us. Appointed time of the death is approaching near to you, and still you have been repeating the same thing, same kind of life, same event. How many times you have anxiety and stress and reaction? I didn't count it. Maybe 1 million times. Because even in one day we may have reacted hundred of times by thought, feeling, and emotions. 100 multiplied by 30 days and by 365 days and multiplied by if I lived for 50 years, just think of it. We have taken for granted. Master is pointing out. Master is hammering our head and says that, can you say that enough is enough? I will stop the reaction. Come what may. We don't say it. The fourth line is Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukran Karni. Very beautiful message. Literal translation is the rules of the grammar will not save you. What it means. You see the metaphor. Can you make it? Say, for example, you purchase an English dictionary. Clear? And you remember the entire dictionary. Second point. You remember the entire dictionary. Can you become a physicist? Can you become a biologist? Can you become an astronomer by just remembering the entire dictionary? You see, the way the Master forces us to think, no, not possible. Then why the hell I'm living into anxiety, duality, reaction, anger, suffering almost every day, few times, and those few times multiplies, it carries forward, it is accumulated in the storehouse of my mind, and then it is expressed. How long? Master says the rules of the grammar will not save you. Don't forget the first verse, the liberate principle, and if you don't forget, the life is going to be beautiful. Now, if we go and look at the masses hidden here, the Master gives. Master says, when you recognize you have bitter experiences almost every day, why not prioritize? Why not make your primary goal as a self-discovery? How come when I recognize and realize the real self, if I make it a primary goal and I recognize and realize my real self of unconditional love, peace, and happiness, I hammer the delusion. And after that, I'm just living in that calmness and peace. But my priorities are different. What are my priorities? I expected from you and you did not fulfill my expectations. You see? So I should remember myself. No, no. Second is that whatever is visible outside, whatever you see, you experience, you have, you possess, temporary in nature, they are constantly changing. What is the real self is permanent, unchanging. You rent a hotel for about a week, you stay there. As long as you are staying there, you have the keys, you are the owner of that room, that accommodation. But you are not attached. You are aware that after a week I have to empty this. Did you understand what I'm saying? If you understand, write to me. I'll explain it later. Another message that the master is giving, that you open the door, front main door of your house, and you look outside. You look neighbors' houses, many streets and the cars, many people. Mind is outside, scattered in millions of directions outside. And wherever it is scattered, subconsciously, habitually, it will bring impulsive desire attachment. Now, the second option, you close the door again. You are inside your house. You change the direction of the mind and you experience the calmness, because the calmness is already present in the house. Using this metaphor, when we turn the direction of the mind, we recognize the peace and calmness is already within me. So that is another message the master is. And the last one, he says urgency. He says, once you recognize that I have been suffering for so many years, enough is enough. Let me commit to this journey of the East and West. What is that? Recognize and realize the real self while hammering the delusion to bring an end to the suffering once and for all, and to live into that peace and happiness. So when you recognize and realize and experience that immutable peace, or can I use another adjective, the infinite peace, unconditional love, nothing outside can ever disturb you. What is this? This is, you can say, the spirituality. I'm explaining logically, rationally. No cult, no dogma, no belief, nothing like this. So, my friend, listen to it again and again. Find out the four parts of the verse. Means four types, four messages is there. And when once you understand it, then contemplate and reflect on it. Why digestion is required. So when you contemplate and reflect, it's so simple. You did it in the morning, and now the David has or anyone has come, near and dear ones. You are fully aware, you are in the state of the calmness, you have no expectations, you are not attached, you invite it. You are grateful that the guy has come. You thank him. How come? Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. You have already done the Shanti mantra. So because you have digested and assimilated that knowledge. We'll talk in the next session. Thank you very much.